and the newest member of the Big 550 KTRO Sports Group. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning. How's it going?
Good. What do we know about the offer your Cardinals made for Giancarlo Stanton?
Well, it's kind of in the phase right now where every team that wants in is putting their cards on the table. So the Cardinals, along with a lot of other teams, are getting to that point where they're saying, okay, this is what we would feel comfortable doing. And the Marlins are going to say, well, we either this works for us or we want to push back on this. And then at some point, and this is the big part, is that it gets to Stanton because he has a full no trade clause, and he has to approve anything, or he can, if he says no, then whatever was agreed upon up to that point, it doesn't matter anymore.
You go back and you look at all the people the Cardinals came in second with, right? Going all the way back to Mike Hampton. And then who was that pitcher that they lost out to that went to the Red Sox? That David Price?
David Price.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys the Cardinals came in second with, and it's the best thing that ever happened to them, not getting caught up in the current euphoria. Again, Ben, I'm on record as saying I don't want the Cardinals to do this, but do we really want the Cardinals to do this?
Well, I see your point. I think the people who want the Cardinals to do this see the hole in the lineup, and they see the need for a bat and a presence that lifts an entire offense.
Yeah.
The downside we've talked about it. It's a big contract. It is a guy who you don't know how any player is going to age when he has a contract through 2027. But the thing that's a little bit different now is these guys are going to make money, big money from here on out. I mean, there's never going to be less money made by baseball players. It's only going to go up.
Right.
And if unless you have that kind of bat in your farm system that you can grow, then you're going to have to go get one through trade or free agency at some point. So at some point, there's going to have to be an uncomfortable deal that's made to get a bat.
Yeah.
Now, maybe it's not Stanton, but it's going to have to be somebody. So to me, when I look at, are you going to pay a ton of money to a guy like J.D. Martinez, who's a free agent this year, who can hit a lot of home runs, but he's a terrible defender? Or can you go find a way to work a deal to go get a more talented player like Stanton, who's a good defender, who maybe profiles well as a first baseman later in his career? Then maybe it's not as painful of a deal as it's going to seem when Bryce Harper or when Manny Machado hit free agency and get money that just makes you want to fall over and curl up into a ball.
I mean, if you're paying Stanton $25 million, how much are you going to pay Bryce Harper?
Oh my gosh! I mean, what about Manny Machado? I mean, there's some guys coming up in this next free agency class that are probably going to operate in free agency world that the Cardinals might not be able to stomach. The Cardinals have money. I'm not going to give them a pass here. They have more money now than they ever have, especially with the TV money coming in. But they've never been one that's going to go out and compete with the Red Sox and the Yankees to sign a free agent. I don't expect that to change. But those two guys are going to make money that's going to be staggering. They're going to make money that probably makes Stanton look like a bargain.
Right. Well, but the other thing too is the Astros won the World Series. They didn't have the largest payroll, right? They won, and I know it's a big market. Houston's the fourth biggest market in America, but the Dodgers spent $260 million, and the Houston spent a fraction of that.
Yeah, well, Houston's got a lot of players that are cost controlled right now.
Right.
And they got those players by drafting very high. They got those high draft picks by tanking. For them to be able to hold on to those players. When they hit free agency, they're going to have to spend a lot more money.
Right.
That's kind of the spot the Cardinals are in, right? So they're too good to draft high. They finish too high. They win too many games. So in order to get those elite players, those Chris Bryants, those Altuves, you probably need a higher draft pick. Now there's some diamonds in the rough, sure, but some guys are sure things. And those guys are drafted very high. The Cardinals can't get up there because they don't lose enough games.
Yeah, so they're sort of stuck in this.
Tank,
yeah,
and I don't think fans want them to tank. So at some point they got to spend, whether it's through trade or free agency, in order to get that elite type player. They thought they had that guy in Oscar, and you don't like bringing him up in terms of like the literal baseball sense because the way he was lost was such a tragedy. But they hoped he would be the next kind of homegrown big bat.
Right.
And now he's gone, and there really hasn't been anybody that they've developed or come across to replace him. So that's why there's such a need. And again, maybe it's not Stanton, but there is a need, and it's going to cost big to get that kind of a bat. No matter where you get him from, no matter how you go about getting him.
What about Moustakas? I like Moustakas. It sounds like a pretty reasonable, right? It's not the 4K 85-inch television, but it's a nice 55-inch high-def television. Why not get Moustakas?
Yeah, I probably like that route more than Hosmer. But I think those Royals guys, they've been a little inconsistent. They're a little up and down, so you're maybe not getting as sure of a thing. If you're going to go that route, I'd probably want that to be one of multiple moves that were made. But certainly he could add some benefit to the team. People seem to be very high. Some Cardinals fans seem to be very high on Hosmer, but I think Moustakas probably would be a better route. Hosmer to me has been way too inconsistent. He has one good year and one bad year. But I still think of those guys as maybe secondary options, as opposed to the main fix that you're looking for.
I also think this, Ben Fred, STLtoday.com, that the Cardinals are walking around like a peacock, saying we're going to deal from strength. We got all these pitchers. You can blink your eyes and go from having a plethora of pitchers to having no pitchers. All you have to do is look at the Mets, right? The Mets were stocked with pitching, and they all got hurt in some way or another, and now they're begging for pitchers. So just because the Cardinals claim they have all this pitching depth, you blink your eyes, you trade a guy, one guy goes down, all of a sudden, where'd all that pitching depth go?
Well, they're not flaunting that they want to get rid of their pitchers. They want to get rid of their outfielders. They will have to probably deal a pitcher or two, and that always hurts for the reason that you mentioned. Yeah, right. I mean, anytime you deal a talented pitcher, it stings because you don't know what you're going to need later in the season, and you don't know what he's going to turn out to be. But what I think the Cardinals would like to do is deal outfielders because they are just log jammed there. With guys at the major league level and guys who should be but don't have a spot right now.
Right,
so
but the Marlins want
that position.
But the Marlins want pitchers, right?
Well, everybody wants pitchers. so you pick you pick the one that you can most stomach losing for the price that you want. But one of these things too is, and I'll mention this, is we get in this day and age, it seems like people get so caught up on prospects and what they might turn out to be. At some point, you can only have so many. I mean, there's only so many spots on the major league team, so you want to have a deep farm system. You want to have talent that's ascending. You always want to be replenishing, especially for a team like the Cardinals that doesn't have that's never going to spin like the Yankees. You have to build from within. It's how the Cardinals have had so much success, but it also doesn't do you much good to have so many prospects that you can never find a way to use them, especially if your major league club is hurting a little bit. And the Cardinals are. I mean, they're up against a tough spot here. They're going to have to make some uncomfortable moves because they're in an uncomfortable spot. This team isn't going to stomach missing the postseason 3 years in a row. The fan base expects more. They're promised more. So it's time to make some moves that might hurt a little bit.
We'll see what happens. Ben, Fred, always good to have you. Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.